On August 8, 2025, Atlanta's CDC headquarters became the site of a shocking attack that rattled the nation and sent shockwaves through the global public health community. What began as an ordinary summer morning quickly turned into a nightmare that would leave a lasting mark on the institution and its people. 30-year-old patrickwhite, a local resident with a history of mental health struggles, opened fire from a nearby CVS parking lot after being denied entry to the campus. His motives remain unclear, but his actions would have devastating consequences. For several terrifying minutes, he unleashed over 180 rounds at the CDC buildings, shattering windows and sending employees scrambling for cover. The sound of gunfire echoed across the campus as panic and confusion spread among staff and visitors alike. The gunfire transformed a center of science and hope into a scene of chaos, with law enforcement racing to confront the threat. Officers responded within minutes, risking their lives to protect those inside. The attack ended with the deaths of both the gunman and a responding police officer, whose bravery was later honored by the city. The loss was deeply felt by the entire community. No CDC employees were physically harmed, but the psychological impact was profound. Many staff members reported lasting trauma, anxiety, and fear in the weeks that followed. The scale and intensity of the assault left the campus scarred and the community shaken. Vigils and memorials sprang up as people struggled to process what had happened. Investigators found extensive damage, shattered glass, bullet-pocked walls, and a lingering sense of vulnerability that would not soon fade. The aftermath was a sobering reminder of the risks faced by those in public service. The event forced a reckoning with the dangers facing public health institutions in a climate of rising anger, misinformation, and distrust. It highlighted the urgent need for better protection and support for those on the front lines. It was a dark day for the CDC, raising urgent questions about security and the safety of those who serve the public. The attack prompted immediate reviews of security protocols nationwide. The attack was a stark reminder of how quickly violence can strike even the most vital institutions, and how essential it is to protect those who dedicate their lives to the public good. The CDC campus bore the brunt of the attack, with 4 buildings hit and over 150 windows shattered. Building 21, home to the CDC director's office, suffered the most damage, suggesting the leadership was a possible target. Even blast-resistant glass was destroyed, underscoring the power of the weapons used. The cleanup will take months, with boarded windows and scarred facades serving as grim reminders. Employees were told to work from home, both for their safety and to process the trauma. The once bustling campus fell silent, its sense of security shattered in minutes. The attack forced a complete overhaul of security protocols, not just at the CDC, but at similar institutions nationwide. Now, leaders must balance protecting these centers of knowledge with keeping them open and accessible. The challenge: how to restore trust and safety in a place dedicated to public health. The attack's most devastating loss was Officer Davidrose, killed while responding to the shooter. At just 33, Rose was a respected officer, husband, and friend. His death sent shockwaves through Atlanta's law enforcement and beyond. Vigils and tributes honored his courage and sacrifice, highlighting the daily risks officers face. The community mourned a hero lost in the line of duty. The gunman, Patrickwhite, also died at the scene, leaving behind a family grappling with the aftermath. The investigation into his death continues, but the pain remains for all involved. CDC staff, though physically unharmed, now carry the trauma of being targeted for their work. The emotional toll is immense, with many struggling to process the violence directed at their institution. The healing process will be long, requiring support and renewed commitment to safety. Officer Rose's sacrifice will not be forgotten. The tragedy underscores the need to protect those who protect us. To truly understand the attack, we must first look closely at Patrickwhite's troubled life and the circumstances that shaped his actions. His story is not just about a single moment, but about years of struggle and mounting despair. Suffering from relentless chronic pain and deep depression, White's daily existence became a battle. He grew convinced that the COVID-19 vaccine was to blame for his deteriorating health, a belief that isolated him further from those around him. This conviction, fueled by a constant stream of misinformation online, gradually turned into an all-consuming obsession. He fixated on the CDC, seeing it as the source of his suffering and the reason for his pain. Over the course of a year, police were called to his home 11 times, responding to incidents that included threats of suicide and other mental health crises. Each visit was a warning sign that something was deeply wrong. Despite these repeated red flags and clear signs of distress, White was still able to access 5 firearms belonging to his father, highlighting a critical gap in safety and oversight. White's story is ultimately one of personal agony, untreated mental health struggles, and a dangerous fixation that spiraled out of control. His actions, while inexcusable, shine a harsh light on the deadly consequences that can arise when pain, misinformation, and easy access to weapons collide in a single life. This tragedy forces us to confront urgent questions about the state of mental health support, the spread of misinformation, and the accessibility of firearms in our communities. It's a sobering reminder of how private battles, left unaddressed, can spill over into public tragedy, affecting entire neighborhoods and communities. The need for early intervention, compassionate support, and stronger safeguards has never been clearer or more urgent. This event stands as a call to action, a plea to address the roots of such violence before more lives are shattered. In the days after the attack, top officials arrived in Atlanta to show support and assess the damage. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., CDC Director Susan Monarez, and HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill toured the battered campus. Their visit was a message of solidarity and a commitment to help the CDC recover. They met with Officer Rose's widow, offering condolences and honoring his sacrifice. The visit underscored the human cost of the tragedy and the need for healing. Practical steps followed. Employees worked remotely, and a full security review was promised. The government pledged to support the CDC's recovery and ensure staff safety. The visit marked the beginning of a long road to healing for the agency and the community. It was more than a photo op. It was a necessary step toward rebuilding. The nation's leaders recognized the gravity of the moment and the need for action. The attack left CDC employees shaken, fearful, and uncertain about their safety. Many now worry about being identified as CDC staff, fearing they could be targeted again. The union representing CDC workers blamed vaccine disinformation for fueling the violence. Years of hostility and threats against public health officials have created a climate of anxiety. The fear isn't just physical, it threatens the agency's ability to attract and retain top talent. The CDC's mission depends on openness and collaboration, now threatened by fear. Counseling and support services are being offered, but rebuilding trust will take time. The scars, both physical and emotional, will linger long after repairs are made. The work environment at the CDC has been fundamentally changed. Many see the attack as the tragic result of rampant misinformation, especially about vaccines. The shooter blamed the COVID-19 vaccine for his suffering, targeting the CDC as a symbol of his grievances. Hostility toward public health workers has surged in recent years, fueled by false information and conspiracy theories. The attack is viewed as the culmination of this dangerous trend. Experts warn that protecting public health now means protecting its workers from harm. Combating misinformation is essential, not just for science but for safety. Public trust in institutions like the CDC has plummeted, making crisis response harder. The shooting is a stark reminder. Misinformation can have deadly real-world consequences. The need for accurate information and public trust has never been more urgent. The response to the shooting was complicated by the tense and polarized political climate, which had already set the stage for deep divisions and mistrust. At the center of the controversy was the leadership of HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., whose actions and statements have drawn national attention. Kennedy's long history of vaccine skepticism has fueled growing distrust among CDC scientists, public health advocates, and even some members of the general public. In the wake of the shooting, some CDC staff have gone so far as to call for his resignation, arguing that his leadership not only undermines the agency's mission, but also threatens the credibility of public health guidance at a critical time. Critics point to his public statements and sweeping policy changes, such as ending federal funding for mRNA vaccine research, as decisions that have weakened the nation's pandemic preparedness and left the public more vulnerable. The attack only intensified the already heated debate over these controversial policies, exposing deep and painful divisions between political leaders, scientists, and the communities they serve. The CDC, once a symbol of unity and scientific excellence, now finds itself at the very center of a national culture war, with its reputation and future direction in question. The attack, combined with the ongoing controversy over leadership, highlights just how polarized and emotionally charged the conversation around public health has become in America. Rebuilding trust will require not just open dialogue and a renewed commitment to facts, but also leaders who can unite rather than divide, and a willingness from all sides to listen and learn. The stakes are high. Public safety, trust in science, and the nation's health all depend on restoring confidence in our institutions. The nation's well-being and its ability to respond to future crises depend on restoring confidence in science and public health leadership. The fallout from this tragedy extends far beyond Atlanta, touching every community and family across the country. In the end, it's a test of our ability to come together, heal, and move forward in the face of crisis and division. The CDC shooting is more than a crime. It's a warning. It shows how disagreements over public health can escalate into violence, putting scientists at risk. The event forces us to confront the deadly consequences of misinformation and eroding trust. Protecting public health now means protecting those who serve it. Fighting misinformation is about safeguarding communities, not silencing debate. Restoring trust in science requires transparency, honesty, and better communication. The memory of Officer Rose and the trauma endured by CDC staff must inspire real change. This should be a turning point for security, for combating misinformation, and for civil discourse. The nation's health depends on our ability to work together, guided by reason and respect for truth. The future of public health and our safety hangs in the balance.